Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of AskDproS Business, where we bring professionals, entrepreneurs, they come on the show, share their journey, their story, how they started, difficulties, success stories as well, in order to help other businesses and individuals as well that want to think about going into businesses, have your own business as well, and on this particular show, I've got a speaker, he's an author, he launched his book sometime in December, Hitting the Wall. Spoke to him earlier on before the show, quite an interesting guy. Guys, trust me, you're going to learn a lot from this guy when it comes to business, and he has his own business as well, which is the Business Clubhouse. Guys, help me to welcome Ash Taylor. Ash, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey man, how are you? All right? Yeah, I'll give myself a clap. How you
doing? Yeah. So Ash, on this show, we always start from the beginning, which means, telling us how the journey started for you, because I know guys want to know the backstory, how you started to how you built your business now, So if you don't mind, let us in about how this whole thing started for you.
Yeah, cool, man. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
really happy to share that. So you mentioned my book. The whole story's in the book. If anybody ever wants to read it, but basically my story started when I was sort of 13. I'm not going to do every single year, but hitting a tennis ball against a wall, I was an average athlete. I'm not an amazingly talented player, but I just worked really, really hard, and I would just hit this ball against the wall over and over and over again. And there was this dude, Peter Hennessy Smith. He saw me one day. He was the pro at the club, and he started challenging me, and he started saying to me, how many shots do you think you can hit today? Why don't you try this skill? Why don't you try that skill? And over some time, he kind of became a mentor and almost a second dad to me. And he really kind of pushed me in a direction which I never thought would be possible. So I ended up kind of coaching part-time, helping him out at a club. I did my O-levels. It shows how old I am. Did my O-levels back then. did not very well in my A-levels. My parents were pushing me to go down this sort of academic, you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant route. And all I ever wanted to do was to play sport. And I wasn't very good at it, but there was just something compelling about being beaten up and then starting again and losing and starting again and just testing myself over and over again. So I trained as an engineer. I was terrible at that, really, really bad. But I was really good at coaching tennis. So I ended up when I was, 22, 23, starting to coach full time. I worked in various clubs, various different environments. Worked at a private member club, set up a community club in South London. I mean, we were literally going into estates and throwing rackets and nets down and just shouting out, does anybody want to come and play? And just giving people an opportunity, going into schools, all these sorts of things. Went to Australia, coached out there for a bit, came back, did a bit more coaching, and then got offered a job by the Lawn Tennis Association, which is the national governing body for tennis in this country. Worked for them for 4 years, and then set up my first, what I'd call proper business. So I would always work for myself. I'd always been self-employed from when I was about probably 16, 17. I was earning money, like almost 50% of my time I was out coaching and earning some money. But this was the first time I went to company's house and started a proper business, if you know what I mean. So for me, having a limited company and a VAT number, that was like, wow, real business now. And it's funny because I remember when I got the job with the Lawn Tennis Association, I'd already been coaching for about 12 years. And my mum rang home to tell everybody that I'd finally got a proper job. And I'd taken a pay cut to do that job. It was absolutely bad. But it just shows kind of how people's perception of what real work is, if you know what I mean. And that for my parents, it was like, oh, he's finally got a job, he's settled down. So I set up this business, and we provided tennis coaching to clubs and kids who couldn't get access to the game. And it got really, really big, really quickly. Say really big, not millions, but we did 30 grand in the first year. Wow. And just under 300,000 in year 2. So we did that Grant Cardone, put an X on it, if you know, 10X thing.
Yeah, 10X, yeah.
And it was mad. I've got to be honest, it was insane because I knew nothing about business. I knew how to look after me. I knew what it was involved in having a couple of, you know, kids working for me. But suddenly I had 12 venues. I had all these volunteers that were working in these venues. I had 27 staff, 14 of them were full time. I had an administrator, I had budgets to run, I had to learn about Google AdWords and Facebook and how to market properly, and, you know, dealing with local authorities and dealing with rivals and you know, just all this stuff that nobody teaches you. Nobody teaches you when you go to school. I mean, you're running this podcast to give people information about how to run a business, because where do you learn it? I mean, you know, some of my clients now have MBAs and yet we're still helping them. Do you know what I mean? Because theory is one thing. So I ran that business for 5 years, 5.5 years. I started another couple of businesses on the side as well, an education business and a community business. It's always been in me to give back. So every business that I've had, we always have something on the side, which costs us money. So we're doing something for the wider community. And in 2013, basically, like, long story short, I lost that business. Very close friend of mine who was in it didn't help me, and I had to walk away from the business basically, and I lost pretty much everything. I lost my house.
How did that make you feel?
You know, at the time, really angry, not just with him, but there were people around me that I expected, that I thought were friends and supporters, and it turned out that really, actually, everybody's only interested in themselves. So yeah, as I said, I felt angry. I think that was my first reaction at the time, and I spent a long time angry. I was angry at the people that I felt had let me down. I was angry at the people that I thought were friends around me that I thought would support me. Mm-hmm. I was angry at myself for not seeing what happened, for not seeing how it was going to happen, for not understanding enough. But I think as I've got kind of more mature, maybe, I don't know, grown up, whatever, and being able to reflect backwards is always easier. I've come to realize that actually it was a really, really good thing. I'm very, very grateful for what happened, because I wouldn't be making the change that I am now with people's lives if that hadn't happened. And maybe I've come to the end of that road. I mean, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of children out there who are, you know, physically healthier and mentally wealthier because of the work that I did. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of people, you know, coaches, men and women, making money from the game, from the sport, because of the impact that I had. So that's something that nobody can ever take away from me, and I can't ever take away from myself. That's a really positive thing. And now I get to do it again, just in a different arena. So in many, many ways, I'm quite grateful for the opportunity to kind of, you know, step out and be challenged in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It does, Ash. It does. And yeah, what a remarkable story, you know. And going back to what you said about, you know, getting experience, you know, I can also put a thing onto there as well. You know, when I finished, did my master's, University of Manchester, did project management. You know, it was just theory there. There was no practical. You know, so when I got up, my mindset was like, oh, I've got this now. I'm gonna get a job. But I went to several interviews. It was the case of you haven't got the experience. So how did you get the experience then? You know, so it just kind of like resonated with me when you spoke about, you know, doing this show just to teach people out there how to run their businesses as well. You know, you probably learn from people that have done it. You know, from there you can learn a thing or two. You know, it goes there. But from your journey so far now, you know, I gotta have a sense of like, you know, there's a bit of like, would I say not necessarily failure, you know, because sometimes it depends on how you see failure as well. You know, there's a bit of learning curve for you there. For you, you know, how do you, when you do something and it doesn't go your way, you know, you have to do it again, you know, what is your take on that in terms of failure, as to say?
It's a really good question, because, you know, I fail every day. Every single day I fail at something. But what I've learned is that does not make me a failure. And, you know, when I lost my business, I had to sleep in my car. Yeah, there were places I could have gone. But I was too proud, you know what I mean? So I slept in my car because it was easy. And we talked about this last week. It wasn't
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
It was
yeah, we did.
Audi, so it was, you know, it was all right. Could be worse. but I think the thing is, I had this discussion with somebody last week. It was last week. I went for a walk with a friend, and we were talking about this. And I think because of my background in sport and not being brilliant at sport, that trained me to learn how to deal with failure because I wasn't very good. So I spent more times losing than I did winning. And I think if you were a very, very competent athlete, if you're one of the best, you know, we always joke about Man United fans, you know, for years, they didn't know what it was like to lose. And if they lost a match, it was just like this shock. Whereas I'm a Queen's Park Rangers fan and we lose every week. So you know what I mean? It's you can deal with it.
God, yeah.
And it's the same thing as a sportsman, as a tennis player. I lost a lot, and for me that was normal. It wasn't a big thing. I'd lose a match, okay, I'll just go and play another one. I'd lose another match, okay, I'll just play another one. And I think a lot of that has helped me now. You know, we just got interrupted by your kids when they were learning to walk. They fell over a lot, didn't they?
Yeah.
But they didn't stay sitting on the floor forever and go, right, I'm never ever going to walk. Daddy, carry me for the rest of my life, please.
No.
They took the bruise, they had a little cry, they wipe their eyes, they stand up, and they go again, don't they? And for me, when you fail at something, you're just learning. You're just learning to do it better or do it differently next time. So if I can't win a match like this, then I'll try winning the match like that. And it's the same with business. I try things all the time, and I've learned that the quicker, and my team hate me for it because I'm constantly trying new things. I'm always saying, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Sometimes it fails, and they're like, Ash, can't you just stick at something? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know that there isn't going to be something that's going to be a little bit better. So let's go and see if we can break it. Let's see if we can go and deliberately fail and break it, because that's how we're going to learn. Do you know what I mean? We kind of, I think, you know, I believe truly that we learn through failing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't fail enough. They're too cautious. They just stick to their, you know, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, we're change makers. We're out there trying to do something different and trying to take control of our own destiny and not work for other people to have them tell us what to do. And in
Yeah.
order to do that, you've got to take risks. And when you take risks, sometimes you fall over.
Yeah, definitely, Ash, man, definitely. You know, for me, for me as well, you know, I think when you're in a place of comfort, you know, you're comfortable, you know. For me, I think you don't grow, you know.
Oh,
You know, so I think getting rid of that comfort zone, you know, actually makes you to explore more and you grow. Like you just give the analogy of the kids now, the baby trying to walk or move, you know. If that child stands there, you know, and just stays there, you know, and never move a muscle, you never build your muscle anyway. You just be there,
but
you know.
it's like going to the gym. If you want to increase muscle strength in the gym, you have to fail.
Definitely.
The whole
Absolutely.
point of training is to break your muscle fibers down so that while you're eating and you're resting, your muscles come back bigger and faster and stronger and denser to deal with the pressure you're going to put them under next time. That's the principle of weight training. You deliberately tear the muscle fibers till they can't cope. And then when you rest, they come back stronger and denser. So when you pick up a heavier weight, they go, oh, I can do this now. And then you turn them again. And that's the principle of weight training. That's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I can. If you think about the first time you drove the car, yeah, how did that feel? I guess it was you were nervous.
It was a long time ago, man. yeah, it was. You know, it's one of those things that I think everybody remembers though when they first sit in a car and make
Oh my
it move.
god.
Just petrifying. How many times did you stall? you stall all the time, unless you drive an automatic. You got
Yeah.
that. But, you stall all the time. But then I can't remember the last time I stalled.
Yeah. For me, starting, I think I took off the headlights. So starting
I
for me.
reversed into my mum's car. I remember that.
That's nice one, man. And moving on, you started your business, your business, the Business Clubhouse, how did that come about? Because I know that, when we want to start a business, it's something we think about. You want to think about the name, you want the name to be appealing as well, like it could just be any name. Anyway, for me, starting Ask the Pros was just I just came. I don't know. I just thought of it as Ask the Pros. Okay, Ask the Pros. Okay, Ask them the Pros. So the name it just kind of like it just stay there for you. Picking your business name. How did that come about? Because I want people to kind of like know the steps to take in terms of creating that business as well.
It's a good question. I've never been asked that question before. And honestly, it was something I thought about really for quite a long time. And came up with the name the Business Clubhouse because for me, the clubhouse in sport is always the place where the trophies are given out, where the dinner happens afterwards, where you have the socials, where the locker room is there, the pool table is there, the bar is there. It's when the conversations happen. It's when you sit down with your rivals after a match and you have a beer together and you talk about the game
Nice.
and you discuss improvement. It's when it's raining, your coach sits you down inside and challenges you mentally instead of beforehand. It's where the team talk takes place. It's where you change. It's where you listen to your music and get pepped. In some clubhouses, there are gyms in place and the sauna, and you know what I mean. It's that
Yeah.
congregation, and I really wanted to build something that was about community.
Mm.
So all I did was go, well, I want people to be in a clubhouse with me, and I kind of see myself as the barman. I'm just a quiet barman in the back who has a little chat when needed, but keeps the drinks flowing, make sure everybody's happy.
Yeah.
But they're doing the work. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
library if you need it. There's sofas if you need to chat. And I thought, well, I'm running a business. I want this to be for business owners. So I just put the word business in front of it, and that's how it came about. So I'm trying to create this. One of our products within the Business Clubhouse is called the locker room. So
Mm.
we actually have a product within the
Nice.
business, the locker
Nice.
room, because that's where people get the inspiration, the motivation, the sweat, and we've got in the lockers is all the kit that you need and the resources and the information and so for me having we're not aiming ourselves just at people who play sport, but people who do play sport definitely go, I get that. I do get that straight away, immediately. So there's a bit of resonance because being, I'm not going to call myself an athlete, but being, sport's been a really, really important part of my life as far back as I can remember. So it's really cool now to be able to have a business that's not actually got anything to do with sport, but there's a little nod to it, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely, man. I like that, man. Definitely love that. And you mentioned something about being a community. For me, I think I interviewed an entrepreneur back a couple of months back. No, he said one thing. He said if you want to build a business, the first thing you do is to build a community. When you
Mm-hmm.
build that community is going to build your business for you. So what you said now it really made sense, and I just thought about that, and that just resonates with me. Like, you have to build a community. After you have your community, that community will definitely build that business for you, which is the
Yeah.
audience as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I was told something very similarly, that if you want to build a business, build a team.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first things if I could go back and speak to myself with my old business, I would have told myself to build a better team earlier on, people around me that I could really genuinely trust. And I've done that with this business, and my team are brilliant. And I've got people I can rely on. I've got people who challenge me, but also I see all of our members as part of the team as well. So
Yeah.
we are this one big happy tribe together, trying to do things. And I think that's really important. I think it should be, lesson number one in the real MBA. Build a
Yeah,
team.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Your journey has been a remarkable one. I must say. But I know that starting a business. Even if it's good or it's bad. There was something that you probably like look back and said, if I knew, I would have done this differently. For you, were there any challenges? And if there were challenges, what were those challenges what were those things that you said to yourself? If I knew better, I would have done this, not that.
It's a great question, and it's a really, really easy answer. Knowing what I know now, if I could go back, I would have understood my numbers much, much more. I was kind of very typical of many entrepreneurs, that I was good at what I did. I was decent at leading people. I could go out and sell. I could understand how to market. Once I understood how important marketing was, I could market, I could sell. But I always buried my head in the sand when it came to the numbers. And I would get accounts from my accountant, and I'd look at them and I'd go, I'll look at them tomorrow. And then 2 months later, they're at the bottom of the pile because I didn't understand them. And even if I did understand them, I'm not sure they would have shown me anything that would have been useful. You know what I mean? Because all my accounts were based on what happened 3 months ago or at the end of last year. So how does that help me now? And no one had ever shown me, build a cash flow.
Yeah.
Understand how your money is going to move over the next 90 days. If you spend £200 a day, how's that going to affect you in 7 weeks' time, in 8 weeks' time? Build a budget, a really clear budget. Where are you spending your money? Stick to that. Don't just go, oh, we've made several £1,000s. I'm going to go and buy a new car because I can, and then wonder why you can't pay the bills in 6 months' time. And there are lots of nuances around money that people just do not understand in business at all. And I think if I could do one thing better, and it's something I spend a lot of time doing now, and humbling myself over, is really trying to understand the numbers in my business as best as I can. Can you imagine watching a football game and there being no scoreboard?
Nice, great. I like that.
All right, and so many business owners do that. They're playing a game, but they don't know if they're winning or losing. They don't know what the score is. If they don't know what the score is, they don't know how many goals they need to score to win. And business is much more complicated in football. It's most football matches are won by 2 goals. I think it's something like 1.8 goals is the difference, or something like that, minimal. But what if that's golf? What if that's the score is in the hundreds over 4 days, and you don't know what the score is, and you don't know what the leader has? Or darts. Can you imagine just throwing darts at a dartboard for the hell of it? Or snooker. If you don't keep score, you don't know where you are in the game. You don't know what you need to do. You don't know where your opponent is. You don't know how big the gap is, how much time you have left to fulfill that gap. And for me, that's how I've started to think about the numbers in my business. Is just think of it as a game. And if I'm profitable, I'm winning the game. And if I'm not profitable, I'm losing the game.
Yeah. They always say for you to be in business, you have to be making money. The numbers have to be right.
They do.
If the numbers are not right, that means that business, no matter how fanciful the logo is, the structure is, you gotta be making money. You gotta be making money.
If you're not profitable, there is a flaw in the business model. I think there is a fundamental flaw. And don't get me wrong, you can get investment in your business, and as long as you can see that you'll break even in 3 years' time and then be profitable afterward, that's fine. But too many, I would call them business owners who maybe have a skill and they're selling it, undercharge, spend too much time on stuff. They are perfectionists. they don't really understand what it's going to cost them to deliver that service or that product. And they're ending up, I mean, there's a guy I was just having a text conversation with just before we came on air. And for 2 years, his pricing was so wrong because he didn't understand the business's numbers, that every single time he did a job, it was costing him money.
Wow.
Every single time he was doing it, he was not even working for free. It was costing him money. It's nuts, and there are lots and lots and lots of people out there like that. So yeah, understand the numbers. That'd be the big one for me.
Yeah. You're right. Definitely right. Understanding numbers is one thing, and I know in business as well, apart from the structure, the logo, the number part of it, we also have like the branding aspect of it as well, which in turn, I think, there's always this thing of personal branding and business branding, for you, can you tell the listeners, the viewers, what's your take on, business branding and personal branding? Because I know they are two different things anyway,
You're okay. So I think the answer to that is this: that your business branding is not about your business. Your business branding needs to be about your customer. Your business branding needs to say exactly what problem you solve and who you solve it for. That's what the branding needs to stand for. So Apple, for example, are a great example. They basically said to the world, it doesn't matter if you understand how to code. It doesn't matter if you don't think you're a geek. You can use our computers. That's how they changed things. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to be grey. You can be different and still use a computer. That's what you know what I mean. That's what they did.
Yeah. For me, I think, I think for that, with that, I think it's also all about customer experience. If you create a good, like a very good customer experience, like you just mentioned Apple now, looking at the Apple store, it just looks amazing. Like there's nothing inside. Like it's as if it's empty, but it also looks amazing.
It does, and I think that's because they really thought about the journey that their customer is going to take, and not just the physical journey, but the emotional journey as well. And we do a lot of work at this with our clients and our members, is that people don't take the time to think about how do people feel when they are going through a purchasing decision. How do they really feel? And if you can understand at every stage of the journey with you how they feel, not how they think, how they feel, and you can deliver something that makes them feel good about your brand, then you've got your branding. And you're right, that customer experience, and that's why I say your business brand is not about you. It's about your customer. It's about how they feel. It's about the problems that you can show them that you're able to solve. Because everybody's looking for a guide. Everybody wants to be a hero in their own story, but they need a guide to help them. And if your business can stand up and go, we can be your guide, and then they'll come to you. So that's my kind of take on business branding. Personal branding is about being an influencer. And I think personal branding has changed a lot in the last couple of years, and it's less about who you know. It always used to be about who you knew. That's what your personal branding and influence was about. Who do you know? Who do you know? It's now become who knows you. So I've come on this podcast now, and there might be people listening to it who maybe reach out or whatever, or they might see me in the future on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever, or on stage or whatever, but they'll know me. And it's not about me, it's not about who I know, but it's the fact that I'm increasing my reach so that more people know me. And it's a subtle thing, but that's the world we're in now. It's about who knows you.
Yeah. And talking about outreach, trying to gets new audiences as well. You have your book. I believe that the book as well is to have create the awareness and have new audiences as well. In writing your book, when was the point you said to yourself, do you know what, Ash, I'm going to write the book, and this is what I want in my book. When was that point?
So I reckon I've been writing that book for about 6, maybe 7 years. And I knew you'd ask me this. And I started writing it. So the chapter that's about my sister, I wrote that about 6 months after she, the 10th anniversary of her death, I think it was. And
sorry about that.
I wrote that just on it for the blog, just kind of a bit of catharticness, you know what I mean? And then I thought, oh, this could be a book, and I've got a story here. And I started it on and off, and over 3 or 4, 5 years, kept buying it, put it down again, pick it up, put it down again. And the trouble is that this little man inside my head called Mr. Imposter just kept getting in the way. And he kept saying to me, you're not good enough to write a book. You haven't achieved anything. Why would anybody want to read your story? You haven't got a story. Do you know what I mean? There's all these reasons why it was a really, really bad idea to write a book. And I just got to a point where I was like, you know what? If I've got something here that one person reads and it helps one person, then it's worth writing. And once I made that decision, I just went, right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Ash. I think one thing as content creators, podcasters, whatever you do that when you want to put content out, there's always this thing about, who's going to listen to my show, who's going to watch my videos, who's going to read my post and all that. We all there's that thing going on in your head, But for me, like you said, if it just gets to one person, if I get one comment, one like or one view, I think for me, my job is done. Because for someone to actually listen to your show or watch your video, it takes a lot. And if you can just get one person, I think for me, like you, I'm on this with you. My job is done. It's totally done. I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, at least it got to one person, and it's good. I was saying, loved your journey so far. It's been fantastic, and but in the course of your journey, and your story, what has been the best advice you've gotten so far? From anybody, your past coach, or business mentors as well, friends, family. What has been that best advice you've gotten so far?
Wow. I hear people ask this question from other people, and I'm always really interested in the answer. So, but the answer is that I might cheat, and there's 2. But the best piece of advice I've ever heard was from Rocky Balboa. And I think it was Rocky 5. And he turns around to his son and he says, if you ever want to see the toughest opponent you're ever going to have to face, you need to look in the mirror. And it's really stayed with me, because I think, we can talk about competition, we can talk about rivals, we can talk about money, all these things, but actually the only person you've got to compete with every day and beat and be better at is who you were yesterday. So as a piece of advice, that for me is really strong. It's just about, all you can do is be better than who you were yesterday. Go out and be better than who you were yesterday. And if you can do that and apply it to everything that you do. So if my business is 1% better today than it was yesterday, I've achieved something. And it only needs to be 1%. It doesn't need to be 20%. It doesn't need to be 50%. Just 1%. So just go out and be better every day. That's I think probably the biggest piece of advice I've ever come across, and it wasn't directly given to me, but I think it's really important. And then the piece of advice that has been given to me directly was by Peter Hennessy Smith, my first coach, funnily enough, and he always used to say to me, Ash, look up. Because the more you look up, the more you see opportunity. Just look up all the time. And it doesn't matter how hard life gets. It doesn't matter how difficult your business is, where your challenge is. If you look up, you will see opportunity. And that's what we do, isn't it? We grab opportunity and we turn opportunity into reality. But if you don't look up, you don't see it. Stop looking at your feet. Look up. Look around. Lift your head. Be tall. Be proud. Be strong. You know. Don't be afraid of being who you are, and just go out there and look up, because there's stuff out there for all of us to grab hold. We live in an amazing place, in an amazing country where there is opportunity all around. Go grab it. The only reason you can't is because of what's in here.
Yeah, it's all about the mindset as well. You know, you gotta have the right mindset.
Yeah, you do, and it's hard. You know, you got to be resilient. You got to be tough. Things will happen. Things will go wrong, but just keep, put one foot in front of the other. Just 1%. Just keep moving forwards. Keep looking at the horizon, not down at your feet. Because you look inwards, you never see what's possible. You only see what's possible when you look away from yourself. You look out there and see what there is. Go and bust that comfort zone. Get out of that bubble.
Yeah, definitely, Ash, man. So what is next for Ash? And I know the pandemic is there, we all work differently now, but in terms of, you as a person, business wise, everything that is going on around you as well, what's next for Ash?
So what's next for me? Just keep growing, keep putting one foot in front of the other. I've got this great business. I've got this great community. We want to get it out in front of more people, help more people. I'm looking forward to getting back on stages again, and when we can speak. I've just finished recording the last part of the Audible of my book. So that's hopefully going to be released end of April. We'll get that out there in front of people, so people who are listeners rather than readers can benefit from it as well. I've got a new podcast starting aimed at school leavers, 16 to 18-year-olds, to help them deal with interviews, learn how to do proper interviews. So we're interviewing recruiters and employers and all sorts of people who take on board young people. So that's a really cool, exciting project to be involved with. And in the background, we'll just, keep building the business, keep encouraging people to, to grow their own wings and to step out of their own comfort zones and make their change in the world. Because, I think being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is an amazing thing, because you are taking control of your destiny. You are, you're responsible for other people's mortgages. You're adding value to the world, and if we can help a tiny bit with that just gives me joy, basically.
Yeah, nice. That's a huge responsibility, having to you know that this employee or this person that works with you, his livelihood depends on you. It's a huge thing, and it's also something we reflect on this all the time as well, as entrepreneurs or business owners, and I know that, sometimes I think that there's a guy interviewed. So the guy interviewed some couple of months back. He said that he doesn't think of paying himself. He pays the employees first. He pays them first. So
it's interesting, because there are a lot of people who would say you're mad and you should pay yourself first.
No.
It's a difficult one, because as the owner of the business, I understand it, but at the same time, you've got to pay yourself. I think it's so important, because you're the one taking the risk. No one's ever going to care about the business as much as you. If it fails, they'll go and get a job somewhere else. And
absolutely, man. You're right. But if someone comes to me, I say, Ash, read your book, looked at you as well, did an amazing job, as a business owner, I also want to go into business as well. For you, what would you tell that person?
Someone starting out?
Yeah, starting out from the beginning. Yeah.
Wow, that's such a big question. We talked about it before. Get a team around you. Don't do it on your own. I go back to sport again. I'll use it. You will not find a professional athlete in the world anywhere who doesn't have a team around him, even in individual sport. They have psychologists, they have masseurs, they have people who book their flights for them, they have trainers, they have coaches, they have mental coaches, they have osteopaths, whatever, nutritionists, somebody who designs their clothes for them. The successful people, even in individual sports, have a team. And I think if you can, it doesn't have to be a team you pay, it doesn't have to be a team that's full-time and employed, but surround yourself with people that can do the things you can't do, so you don't have to do those things, and you can focus on your bit of genius, what you're amazing at. Because otherwise what happens really quickly is you have this great idea and you end up doing nothing about the idea. You end up doing everything else around the idea. Does that make sense? You end up doing, or you ignore the things that are important. So if you have this idea and you're brilliant at that, then focus on that and get people around you to do the other things. I think that would be my single piece of advice. Biggest piece of advice is don't try and do it alone, because you will not find an entrepreneur who has been successful out there anywhere who's done it on his own. I truly believe that. All of them. They may not talk about them in their books. They might say, "Oh, it was me in the market stall and I did it all." But every single one of them had people or someone around them, helping them grow. And the other thing I would say is get rid of the people. It's harsh, but get rid of the people that hold you back. Get rid of the people that say you'll never make it. Get rid of the people who say, "What are you doing that for? Why don't you get a proper job?" Cut them out. It's hard. You don't need that in your head every day when it's hard anyway. You don't need people telling you that you're not going to do it when you're struggling to believe it yourself. You need people around you who will challenge you, but will support you. The friends I have now are very, very different to the friends I had 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hard. It's hard sometimes, but that's what's best for me, and best for my family, and best for my clients, and best for my members. Is that I'm as strong as I can be. I don't need people like that in my ear all the time telling me I'm not going to do it. That doesn't help anybody. So yeah, I think they're the two things. Just surround yourself with the right people. Obviously, understand the numbers. Get your head around the numbers.
Yeah, gotta remember the numbers, man.
Yeah, and do you know what? The other thing I would say is sleep. I mean that peacefully, but just look after yourself. Our bodies are like finely tuned cars, aren't they? You wouldn't put rubbish fuel in a car. You wouldn't keep it clean. You wouldn't service it if you love that car. Your body is the same. You've got to look after your body. You look after your body. You look after your mind, and then you're going to be at your best. And I think too many people think, "I've got to work," and they don't rest. They don't train. They don't eat properly. They don't drink enough water. They don't get enough fresh air, and they wonder why they're not performing. It's like leaving a car with the engine running with a cover over the top of it in a garage and then wondering why it stalls as soon as you bring it out. You've got to look after it. You've got to put oil in it. You've got to fuel it properly. You've got to clean it. You've got to look after yourself.
Yeah, you got to service the car.
You've got to service the car and have a lot of holidays. Sounds crazy, man, but the more holidays I have, the more productive I am. Everybody's busiest just before they go on holiday. And you go on holiday, you come up with all the crazy ideas, don't you?
Yeah.
On holiday.
Yeah. Ash, if you are given the opportunity to go back to tennis, go back to tennis, not being pro, but just being in that environment, would you do that? Would you do that?
Yeah, I was asked this 2 weekends ago. I was walking the dog and we met this couple. We got chatting because their dog liked my dog, and I was having to get my dog off of their dog. It's like, and we get chatting away, and she was the secretary or something at the local tennis club, and I was like, "Oh," and she was saying, "Oh, you should come back and play. You should come back and play," and I was just like, "Nah," because tennis gave me a lot. But I get that now from golf and being in golf clubs, playing golf. I get that same sort of buzz. So I kind of feel like I don't need to go that. I would never say never, but right now where I'm at, I feel like it would be a backward step in many ways. And I don't like to look behind me. I like to look forward.
Yeah, and look forward and look up as well.
And look up.
Yeah, look up as well. Just to take a line from your book. I think we discussed it last time we spoke. But I just want to get a bit of clarity around that. Which goes. Which way you go often depends on whose voice you choose to listen to. When you put that statement there, what were you thinking?
I was thinking that we all have people around us who will have an opportunity to influence us by what they say and what they do all the time. And I think it's really, really important that you be discerning and you be smart about who you choose to listen to. Because most people are quite selfish. Most people are, it's rare you meet people who would genuinely have your interests first. So they'll tell you what they think you want to hear. They'll tell you what they think is best for them. Even if it's like, I don't want to lose you as a friend, so I'm going to tell you that you're doing an amazing thing, whereas actually you need them to say something different. Or they're scared of telling you the truth. So I think it's really easy to be influenced and pulled around by different people. And if you understand that, then pick the people that you listen to really carefully, because you will be influenced by them. There are people listening to your podcast right now who are going to do things because of what you say.
Yeah. I got someone approached me last week, and he said, oh, he listened to an episode, of my podcast, and that really he really liked that, and for that, he will want to come on the show, So those are the kind of things we're talking about, even if it's one person, your job is done. And when I got that message, I was like, oh my God, I started this whole thing just from an idea, and I got procrastinating as well, trying to just say, oh, I'm going to do it, and doing podcasting and speaking as well. One of my weaknesses is I stutter. So that kind of like took me a bit of time to come around it and say, how am I going to sound, but getting such messages from people, that's sort of like, it's just overwhelming, it just gives you that, fulfillment that you want, that personal satisfaction, it gives you that, which is really great.
How many people said to you, you can't do a podcast, you stutter? How many times did you say to yourself, you can't do a podcast because I stutter? And here you are. So you've looked up, you've seen the opportunity. Yeah, you've stepped outside of your comfort zone. You've done some stuff that takes, means that you have to be brave. You probably failed a few times when you started, but you didn't give up. You carried on going. So you are sitting here as a real example of everything I've talked about.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for the right reasons, and that's so important, isn't it? Do it for the right reasons. You wanted one person for it to impact. And I'm sure it's impacted more than one person. I know my book has impacted more than one person. I get messages. My LinkedIn is full of messages from people saying, just finished reading your book. It was absolutely amazing. It got me thinking about this. It got me thinking about that. It's changed this for me. It's changed that for me. And every day I just think, wow, what a privilege to be in that position where you can affect change. And because of that, even when there are days where I'm feeling rubbish, where it's harder than others, I can't give up because this is bigger than me now. Do you know what I mean? It's bigger than me. It's got a life of its own now.
It's definitely a movement, man. Definitely a movement.
Yeah, I hope so. Slowly. I don't know, but we'll get there.
Nice one, Ash, man. It's been a great conversation, man. It's been great. When it comes to social media, now social media, everybody talking about social media. We use it to promote our shows and doing all that. Social media could be good, it could be bad as well, but you know, for you, you know, how do you see social media? Is this something that is good? Is it bad? You know, I know everybody have their own different ideas anyway, but social media for you, you know, how do you see it?
So social media is just a thing. It's just a tool. You know, it's not good. It's not bad. It's about the people who use it fundamentally to define whether it's good or a bad thing. And at the end of the day, good and bad are just opinions, aren't they? You know,
Mm,
one person's good is another person's bad, and one person's bad is another person's good. And as a tool, like anything else, it can be brilliant. But that tool can become a distraction very, very quickly. They're designed to be distractions, they're designed to be addictive. And I do meet people all the time who are saying, oh, well, I've been doing Facebook for ages or Instagram for ages and I'm not getting any traction, nothing's happening. When you dig down and really truly understanding where their market is hanging out and whether that's a place they need to hang out as well. So you know, Facebook works okay for me, but Facebook ads work really well for me. My market's on there. Um, LinkedIn is working really, really well for me, starting to really gain some traction because my market's on there. Instagram, it probably is, but then do I need to be on 3 platforms? I haven't got the energy. I haven't got the time. I use it personally. I'd rather do 1 or 2 things really, really well than spread myself too thin. I use Instagram a little bit, LinkedIn more, because LinkedIn is just a tool to get the podcast out to other people.
mm.
That piece of the book on LinkedIn, I don't get anything. So, you know, you got to spend the time where your business and your target, you know, your audience, that's the word you use.
Mhm.
Where's your audience hanging out? Your audience hanging out, and it's a critical thing. Writing, they think about what's new. People are jumping on Clubhouse at the moment,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But great, but still there. You know,
Mm,
if you don't
mm.
know when your Facebook ads are already working really, really
Clubhouse, man. I think since last year, but I joined it in there as well, you know, but in there because I found out that
big audiences on other platforms already. So all they're doing is maybe diluting what they're doing. I don't know enough about it. I just think we're all really quick to jump on the next thing and
mm,
ignore stuff that's already working. I mean,
mm,
I'm really looking forward to life getting back to normal and me getting onto stages because I know when I speak, I attract people to our community. So I want to go back and do more of that because I know it works.
mm.
So why
Absolutely,
would I stop it?
absolutely. You know, what's your take on legacy? You know, like, you know, now we are doing all this. You know, we want to leave piece of work or art behind. You know, leave things we've done, you know, just to show that okay, we've been on this earth for a long time now, you know, and this is what I'm leaving behind, you know. And for you, you know, what's your take on that legacy and trying to inspire the world whilst you've gone, you know? And you know, and I know people shy away from this question because they always say, oh, legacy of, oh, when I'm dead, no, but you know, I know people always get scared around it, but for you, you know, what is that legacy that you want to leave behind?
No, I've thought about this question a lot, and I do have an answer for it. So I'm going to give the answer in a little story, if that's okay. All right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So, and it's not my story; it's somebody else's story. And I'll explain it at the end. But I want you to imagine that you're walking down a street, and you walk past this building. There's these big, beautiful doors, and there's all these people sitting on seats. And you're curious, so you go into the building, and there's all these seats either side, and there's this aisle. And you walk up the aisle, and you realize you're in a church, in a mosque, you know, whatever. And you get to the front, and you realize that all these people are here to pay their respects at a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And there's music going on, and it's beautiful. And you think, well, you know, I'll pay my respects as well. I'm here, so I'll go and do that. So you walk up, and you step up to the stage, and there's a coffin, a beautiful coffin, flowers, little plaque, and you look down at the face, and you realize it's you. You are lying in the coffin. And you get the privilege of sitting watching your own funeral. And one by one, your best friend, a parent, a sibling, your children, your business associates, your clients, your partners, your suppliers, they all come up one by one and they say something about you in your life. What would you want them to say? And that for me is legacy. How do I want to be remembered? Not necessarily how much wealth I have gained. You know, and what I don't want people to be saying is, "Oh, Ash had really nice taste in shoes. Oh man, I'm going to miss driving in his car," or "He had a lovely house." Those things are just not important. I want them to talk about the type of person I was and the impact I had on their lives. That for me, and I can only speak for me, that for me is legacy. How I made people feel.
Nice, Ash, man. It's really, really. It's for me just like a reflection. You know, it's a great story, and you just I don't know, man. So much to take away from that. we could just end the show now, and I'll be done, man. Like that was a very touching one, man. You know, very very touching one. You know, last one for me here. You know, if someone is listening to this, you know, watching this, seeing you, you know, and you want them to take something away from this, you know, what would be that thing you want them to take away from this?
Wow. Make it matter, I think is what I would say. If it matters enough, you'll make it happen. You know, building a business is hard. That's why so few people do it. All right, I can't remember who said it, but if you don't go and build your dream, then you'll end up working for somebody else's dream.
Yeah, that's it.
Make it matter. Make what you are building matter. Make sure it has a legacy, whatever that means to you. Make sure it serves more people than just you. Because when you build something that serves more people than you, that has a bigger impact than just you, it takes on a life of its own. So that's you know, my business is attached very very closely to a local charity. So as we grow, the charity benefits all the time. And so I'm not just thinking about me. If we have less profit, then I'm not able to help the charity as much, and that drives me on. That because it's not about me. It's about my members, and it's about, you know, helping this charity as much as possible. I'm bottom of the pile in this. I'm just the driver. You know what I mean? But my passengers are my clients and the charity.
Yeah,
It's important that they get to where they get to go. They're the heroes in this, not me. So make it matter. Build something that matters.
yeah. It's been an amazing time, Ash. You know, love every bit of it. You know, well, if guys want to get in touch with you, you know, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
Oh well, we're everywhere. Not on Clubhouse.
Uh,
Instagram. My personal Instagram is the Ash Taylor. I'm on LinkedIn, Ash Taylor. The Business Clubhouse.co.uk is the website. Hitting the wall book, or it's on Amazon as well. Yeah, I'm not difficult to find really. I'm everywhere, but the website's probably the starting point because you can get to everywhere else from there. So www. We even need to say that anymore. Yeah, the businessclubhouse.co.uk. That's where we hang out mostly. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Nice one, Ash, man. It's been amazing, man. Trust me, it is. You know, lots of takeaway from me. You know, and I really love your journey, your story so far, which is great. So, guys, you know, there you go. Ash has dropped the bomb. You know, hopefully we all get a thing or two from this, you know. And I also want to thank you for connecting, you know, and the time as well, you know, because I know now, you know, people are busy, you know, the time is limited. You just want to do a lot of stuff based on what's going on right now. You know, I'm really, really grateful, you know, for you to give me your time, which is great. Thanks, Ash.
You're very welcome. As I said, if one person listens to this and makes a change, then it was well worth the time. That's all we ever look for. Thank you for the opportunity to get in front of your tribe and your community, because that's really cool, man. It's a real privilege. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice one, Ash, man. That's it, man. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
Nice, man. Nice. Great.